Testing, testing. Good afternoon. I am looking out for Cynthia. She stepped out. Oh, there you are. I was waiting for you. Welcome, bienvenidos, and welcome. Blessings to this shared afternoon. We are gathered here today to give thanks for the life of Mary Berglund, to celebrate a life well lived and comfort one another as we say our goodbye. My name is Janae Johnson, and I'm a student of ministry, and I'm the Religious Education and Communications Director here. It is my duty and my honor to serve on behalf of the highest power to be here with you all today. I want to welcome you all in person and online to be together with your friends and family, to hold one another. We've spent so much time apart. Thank you for being in a space where Mary Berglund was such an active member. A special welcome to the family members of Mary's family who are running this celebration of life together with me today. Cynthia, Lee, and Dwight, thank you very much for your assistance. I'll be saying very little today, since the family and friends will be speaking and bringing the life of Mary forward. But I will say this. I've gotten to know Mary through your stories, through your photos, through your experiences, and I want to thank you again for sharing them with me. We have a few announcements just before we begin. As far as masking and social distancing goes, it's to your level of comfort. I appreciate those who have theirs today. If you don't have one and you'll like one, just raise your hand. We have plenty of restrooms in the building, one restroom just right here, and another one down the hall to the left. The reception afterwards will be held in our Gilmore area, where there'll be light refreshments for you to partake. And now for our lighting of the chalice. Our flaming chalice is a symbol of Unitarian Universalism. It is a symbol of hope, the sacred, and the quest for truth, the warmth of community, the light of reason, and so much more. As Karen White lights our chalice, it is time to become grounded and centered in this moment. And I will share our covenant with you. If you know it, feel free. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Now I would ask if you could take out your gray hymnal and turn to page 722. This is a responsive reading that we'll be doing together. I will read the standardized font and you will read the italicized. So this is called I Think Continually of Those. I think continually of those who were truly great. Whose lovely ambition was that their lips touched with fire should tell of the Spirit clothed from head to foot in the song. And if you don't feel moved to read today, I can just continue and just read it through. It's all right. What is precious is never to forget the essential delight of the blood drawn from the ageless springs breaking through the rocks and the worlds before our earth. never to deny its pleasure in the simple morning light, nor its grave evening for love, never to allow gradually the traffic to smother with noise of fog and flowering of the spirit, near the snow, near the sun, in the highest fields, streamers of white cloud, whispers in the wind of the listening sky. The names of those who in their lives fought for life, who wore at their hearts the fire's center. Thank you. You may close your books by Stephen Spender. Now I'd like to focus our attention to the television set for our slideshow. Now we have a few musicians from our UU, Rebecca Wilson, Lori Clement, coming up front. Oh, thank you.
Nobis pacem. Dona nobis pacem, pacem. Dona nobis pacem. Dona nobis pacem, pacem. Dona nobis 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 pacem.
Thank you. I would like to share a poem for Mary, really for you, so that you remember her. Will you remember me? I remember when faith bestowed upon my auxiliary, grasped my lats as bravery carried me. My arms expand, past tense will no longer bury she. Upwards like a child to an unknown place where she is blessed with success, a celebration of her journey. Fanciful garden parties adorning her neck where plumeria, her life is complete. So fluently, one by one lessons pursuing Mary, molding thy clay to a knowledge pot, blurring within her inner chi, passing love unto her family. This is so beautifully laid in oneness, knowing that we all have the ability to live in oneness, to live within peace, to mend all wounds, to love unconditionally, unilaterally intertwined, blended family of multiverses at multiplicity. Positivity in life we seek. Reality is what we see. So allow your hearts not to lose its purity. Inexplicably, love transcends, manifesting a unique form of divinity. All branches root back down into the same tree, enhancing unity with creation, with the carbon we give and the life we breathe. Laughter is known no matter the language you speak. Non-stop cycle like circling vines on a wreath. So, Mary will forever live in memory. This moment matters now. Forever be one with peace. At this time, I would like to ask for 2 granddaughters to share, if you're ready.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here.
Introduce yourself.
You introduce yourself.
I'm Zoe Smith. I'm the baby.
She's the baby of the family. I'm Lydia. I'm the middle child. We are Mary's granddaughters.
Our mom is Cynthia right here, and that's her dad, Matthew.
That was a beautiful slideshow. I'm sure that you all could see how much love Grandma Mary had in her life. This is a journal from her father, Otto Lindbeck. She was very fond of him. It's from 1911. Grandma Mary was very clean, but she kept everything. She kept everything. So we were looking through some of her many things the other day, and I came upon this from 1911, and her father was trying to start a camera club in the early 1900s, and it only lasted about a year. So I am taking this journal now because there are a lot of blank pages. So in the slideshow, there's a couple people who couldn't be here with us today. I want to take a moment to remember my Uncle Steve that we lost not too long ago, actually. He was Grandma Mary's second born. We have Lisa and Chris and Steve and my mother, Cynthia. So again, thank you all for being here. I have so much that I want to say, and I know we can't all stay here until tomorrow, so I will try to shorten everything that I've been jotting down. I got it. Okay. She was an incredible woman, as I'm sure many of you got to experience. She was my grandmother, my friend, my constant reminder of peace, and my favorite woman. Pardon my French, but she was a badass. And she was so modest about it, but seriously, she never lost her head. She kept it on her shoulders. Her kids were wild at times. She lived all over the world. Her late husband, Lester Berglund, served in the Navy for almost 30 years. Is that the right time frame? They lived everywhere, and I can't imagine doing that. I only have one child, and I feel crazy. Yes, I'm a very proud mother too, and I'm sure you can tell that Grandma Mary was a proud mom as well. Her children were her life, and she took care of them to the end of her days.
And they had great outfits. I don't know if you guys noticed. But.
Yeah, the 70s were pretty cool. I wish I could have been there. But back in 2016, I had the surprise of, well, I knew I was pregnant, but I had my daughter in 2016, and her name is Arwen Christine Hodge. I'm Lydia Christine Smith. My mom has the middle name Christine, and so does my grandmother and her mother, so we carry the name Christine in the family, and it's a very special name to all of us. My daughter Arwen, in the slideshow, there was the picture of me and my mom and grandma, and she was holding the little baby. That was my little girl. She's not here with us today because I didn't want her to miss any more school, and we're trying to get through kindergarten. And our older brother, Tori, is out in San Francisco, and he's a very busy man, and other family members who couldn't be here, but we are thinking of all of them, and thank you again for being here to remember her. So, Grandma Mary was my idol, and I'm so proud to be her granddaughter. She was always so modest, and she never had a big ego. She never boasted. I would tell her often that she was my favorite, and she would just smile and give a little giggle and go, oh, that's nice. And I was like, no, but seriously, like, you're my favorite person in the whole world. And she's like, those are big shoes to fill. And I said, no, not at all. You're just being you. She always was able to keep everybody in the present moment, and that is so special. And my daughter, I don't often see very young children having an interest in older people, but Arwen and my grandmother were so connected, and one of the last photos you saw was Arwen's hand on Grandma Mary's hand, because she was kind of bedridden the past few months of her life, and my daughter just wanted to be there. And I'm so grateful that we were able to come down many times this year to spend time with her and just sit, because sometimes when somebody is in that state, the best thing to do is to just be there with them.
She was still better at crosswords than me, like
Yes.
2 months ago.
But yeah, I gave birth to my little heart, Arwen, and I was so nervous about becoming a mother. I didn't want to mess things up. I leaned on my mom and my Grandma Mary so much, and I felt so much pressure when I became a mom. And as a woman, as a mother, there's just always so much on your mind, on your plate that you want to accomplish. And some of the best advice that Grandma Mary ever gave me was, just get one thing done every day and let that be enough. Take the rest of the pressure off. And it really helps. And it still is something I remind myself of every day, because I'm way too hard on myself.
You're a good mom.
Thank you. Let's see.
She wrote like 6 pages.
So yeah, back to Grandma Mary being a super awesome grandmother. Zoe, my brother, and I are all very different. We are basically twins, even though we're 4 years apart, but as siblings we fight and argue, and Grandma Mary she probably wouldn't want us to use the word hate, but she very much disliked fighting and arguing. Grandma Mary had the incredible ability to break up an argument and get people to calm down without even yelling her voice. She was never physical. She would just say, "For Pete's sake," or "For heaven's sake," or if I said something ridiculous, she would just go, "Oh, mercy," and it just snapped us out of it. And that is a true talent, to raise your words and not your voice. And she was somebody who was so good at that. And I'm going to miss talking with her. But we would always, every year, come down here for spring break. So St. Petersburg is like a second home to us. And I'm still going to come down here as much as I can to be with all of you in this silly place of Florida that I love so much. We have Dwight here, who was Grandma Mary's partner to the end of her days.
And he was like another grandpa for us.
You really were, because by the time we were born, we didn't have any. We had Grandpa Bill, and we lost him, and it's so nice to have you. A lot of you are from the League of Women Voters, and I know a lot of you are activists, and thank you so much. Dwight and Grandma Mary taught me peace. They are the ones who really instilled in me how one voice can have such a positive ripple effect on the world. They took me to my first peace rally when I was 14, and I loved it. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with the School of Americas. I went to that big rally back in 2006 with Dwight and Mary and one of my best friends at the time, and it was so impactful, and I'm just so grateful for that experience. And Grandma Mary loved head rubs. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to ever rub her head. That's kind of more of a job for her granddaughters.
Pretty intimate.
and Dwight, but Uncle Steve, rest in peace, he was always there to rub her head growing up. Grandma Mary and Uncle Steve would tell me that Lester would say, "Steve, your mom wants a head rub," and he would immediately get up from whatever he was doing and go rub her head. And I would often rub her head as well. I loved helping helping Grandma Mary relax. But she would remind me of a kid very often because I would be rubbing her head for about 10 minutes, and the second my hand left her head, she would go, "Oh, can you just do one more minute?" And I said, "Grandma, you're like a little kid. One more minute is going to lead to one more minute and one more minute, and then I'm there for 30 minutes, and that's fine." But I just thought it was so adorable and very childlike of her just to go, "Oh, one more minute." And I was just always so happy to do that. I respected her so much, and I always will. She loved animals. I'm sure many of you knew that. I don't know if you all ever got to go to Dwight and Mary's home, but they had so much wonderful artwork and knickknacks. And last August was the last time I was in their home before we had to take it all apart. And my daughter and I went through the house and we counted 43 different sculptures and pictures and knickknacks of cats alone. She loved cats. When Grandma Mary was a little girl, she played an imaginary game, and she would look at somebody and think about their personality and what they were like and pick an animal tail that would match them. And she always thought that she would have a snow leopard tail. And my daughter felt the same way about herself, so they connected on that level as well, because the whole Berglund family loves cats. It's kind of a thing. So next time you see a cat, maybe you'll think of Grandma Mary. And Dwight loved giraffes, and there was probably about 22 giraffes in the house as well. So let's see. Oh, I have a snaggletooth, and when Grandma Mary smiled, I loved both of her snaggle teeth. I think they're such a wonderful character trait. She said when she was a counselor as a teenager, her kids would go, "Mary, we really love your fangs." And she just thought that was so cool, and I really did love her teeth. She was such a beautiful woman. And I'm just so grateful that we got to come down here so often. This is so hard for me because this was a day that I've been dreading forever. I would always say, "Grandma, you're never going anywhere. I need you. You need to live to 150. Like, I can't believe that she's gone. But I know that we're all going to carry her with us for the rest of our days." Her love of nature was very inspiring for me, too. She was so conscious and lived so thoughtfully and just cared about everyone she met. She never judged anybody. She, in her senior years, taught grown women how to read, and I admire that so much. And when I'm old, I want to be like Mary and Dwight. I really idolize how you guys spent those days, and I love you so much. But she was the practically perfect example. I'm not going to say perfect because I don't believe in that. She was a grammar queen. I still don't think I'm ever going to get lay and lie correct, but that's okay. So her love of bread and butter is something.
Oh my God, yeah. She loves butter and yeast rolls.
I can just picture her delicately putting a slab of butter on every bite.
Cute.
Yes. But yes, she gave so much back to the community, and she was so loving and supportive. I'm going to carry her memories with me everywhere I go, and her values. I could seriously keep talking about her, so if afterwards, if anybody wants to share any stories or up here or just with me, I would love to hear more about her. But thank you again for being here. And I'll say a little poem that Grandma Mary taught me when I learned about spoonerisms, because we all have moments of dyslexia. But it was once a big Malise pan, saw a bit of lum sitting on a stirb comb, chewing gubber rum. Said the Malise pan, won't you send me gum? Ticks on your nintype, said the bit of lum. And she taught me that poem, and I remember we were walking on Coffee Pot Bayou, and I was just hysterical and giggling, almost fell into the water, and I really wanted to memorize that poem, so that was my determination that night. But she was a very special woman. So anytime that you're feeling like yelling or being angry, maybe take a moment and think of how Mary would do that. Especially just with all the madness going on in the world. I'm just so glad she was here, because it would not be a good place without her. And thank you all for all of your activism as well. Yeah, I don't really have an ender, so.
Now it's my turn.
I'm just kidding.
Thank you for being here.
At this time, I would like to open up the microphone to whomever would like to share. Would you like to go? Dwight's going to go first, just a moment.
I am Dwight Lawton, and I want to read you Mary Berglund and the celebration of life. Mary was my partner for almost 30 years. We were introduced by a mutual friend, and we thought we would enjoy each other, who thought we would enjoy each other's company. That was an understatement. Mary was a fair, caring, patient, and a good listener who was passionate about economic and social justice. We shared our individual interests with each other, including her work for fair democracy through the League of Women Voters. She joined me in protesting the School of Americas at Fort Benning and supported me during my time in prison for trespassing. Mary's family welcomed me and immediately included me at holidays and family events. I am forever grateful for her love, support, and meaningful conversation.
Would anybody else like to speak at this time?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Many of you know me. I see a lot of familiar faces from the League of Women Voters. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Dwight. Hi, Cynthia. Hi, Chris. I knew Mary through my work at the League of Women Voters, and because I'm a little bit queasy and emotional right now, I'm going to refer to some notes. I hope you don't mind. It was hard for me to think about how to talk about Mary, but I think I came up with something that I feel good about. Mary was my mentor and my dear friend. We met when I joined the League, and my journey in civic engagement was in its infancy, particularly as compared to hers. She first joined the League in Virginia in 1960s and continued her support of the League when she moved here in 1986 after she decided with her husband Les to settle here after a year living on a boat, traveling all the way down from New York, and her family can probably clarify the journey further. I know Cynthia was with them for part of it, if not all. And that's just a little something that shares the quiet but adventurous willingness to experience life that Mary had. She guided my footsteps, as she had so many others, through the hills and valleys of our work with the League. As I tried to follow her footsteps in League leadership, and as I worked to chair the Voter Services Committee, which worked to get our world, our community more civically engaged. And she inspired me to be better through her dedication to civic engagement and social justice, her environmental stewardship, and her dedication to world peace through the understanding of international affairs. She and Dwight were very active in the League's International Affairs Committee. I think that's what it's called. I know I'll be corrected later. But I aspire to mirror her generosity. She always made time to help me research an issue, talk through an obstacle, or navigate a leadership challenge. I try, whenever the opportunity presents, to do the same for others. I aspire to embody her equanimity. I saw firsthand how Mary's level-headedness, calm approach to all things made life easier and more enjoyable. She cemented in me the value of focusing on what's important and not to sweat the small stuff. I aspire to pay forward her kindness and patience. Mary was always there for me, sensitive to my foibles and willing to listen with empathy. When I needed grounding or a dose of reality, she also offered honest feedback without judgment. So I'd like to tell you a little story that kind of shows her kindness and patience. As you mentioned earlier, she loved animals. I too love animals, and Mary knew this about me. And Mary and I made it a point to get together regularly for lunch for the past few years. I still haven't removed the monthly scheduled lunch with Mary reminder in my calendar. I'm not sure that I will. On our way back from one of these outings, we encountered a family of ducks with ducklings waddling across, if any of you are familiar or not familiar, US 19, which at that point on the south side is a 4-lane highway. And immediately I pulled over, got out of the car, and started waving down cars to the point where I had all the lanes, both directions, stopped, so this family of ducklings could cross US 19. And as I'm exiting the car, I said, Mary, you know I have to do this. And she looked at me and said, of course. And for most people, it would have stopped there. You know, they got across the road, they're safe, but not me. I was afraid they'd get back into that very busy thoroughfare. So Mary and I proceeded over the course of what must have been about an hour, but seemed even longer due to the protracted long process that it was, to coax, cajole, herd this family of ducklings through a large parking lot, across another road, and a long bit of green space near a building, to get to another lake. And it involved me searching my trunk for something that could capture them or entice them, like food or whatever it was. And, you know, Mary patiently waited while I herded, while she stayed with the car. And then I ran back and said, could you please drive the car over to this spot? And this is how it went for so long until we finally got those ducks into a place where we both felt they were safe. And again, Mary knew of my soft spot for animals and graciously participated without complaint. And only after it all did Mary share, without regret, that she probably missed a later commitment. It probably was one of her tutoring sessions to help with that detour. Mary was wonderful in so many ways. I loved her deeply. I will always remember her and work to live up to her example.
Would anyone else like to speak at this time? Again, thank you for being here. Thank you for being in this moment. These times are never easy. These moments where we find love and joy in the memories that we experienced, that's where home is. Mary has seen all that she has needed to see. She's hugged all of whom she needed to embrace. She loved all of whom she needed to love. She shared, if she made you laugh, she's with you. If she made you cry, she's with you. She made you feel better, she's with you. In every breeze you feel as you step outside, she is with you. Every flower that you see, every tree that blooms, she is with you. Hold her and keep her close and steady, for she is always here, always present. Thank you, Cynthia, Lee, Lisa, Dwight, Steve, where you are. Continue to carry your mother's legacy in all that you do, in your stride, in your voice, when sharing love with other people. She left quite a mark. Keep it going. At this time, we're going to extinguish our chalice in thanks and parting ways. Thank you, Karen. We now extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. May peace be with you. This now concludes our service. I would like to send a special thank you to Sue Lorimer for coming in and being our pianist this afternoon. Also, Cynthia, thank you for the flowers. Thank you to Annie Hall, Lori Clement, and Rebecca Wilson for playing today, and thank you all for being present. The reception will follow just over to our side in Gilmore Hall, where life refreshments will be served. Thank you.